why it matters, this idea of the good news. And we discussed how a lot of preachers live their whole life and never preach the gospel, at least not the whole gospel. Just like we discussed back in verse 15, that Paul is eager to preach the gospel, even though these guys already knew Jesus, they didn't know the whole gospel, the whole
Good.
doctrine, the story, right, the whole good news. And so that was the point. Does that make sense? You good, everyone? Yes? Okay.
Sí, señor.
We talked about the idea of the power of God. And we talked about how God is... Do you remember the word that we used?
Omnipotence.
Omnipotence.
You
And
were
so,
telling me something.
for it is... And we talked about how if we were to reword it to, for it is the omnipotence of God for salvation, it becomes a very interesting and very loaded sentence. For it is the power of God, God being all-powerful, you can safely rename it to the all-power of God, the omnipotence of God for salvation. So again, the gospel is not just a story, not just a thing, it is something full of power. The power is to the word to salvation. We talked about how the word salvation is to be rescued, to be lifted from danger, to be caught from falling off a cliff. It's a very permanent and very serious thing. We discussed the idea of everyone who believes. Everyone. Not some people, not most people, not those that remember, not those that have a certain bloodline. Everyone. Then we paused on the fun fact of the Jew first, and also to the Greek. We discussed a little bit the idea of the Jews being God's chosen people, being the ones that were kind of there first, if you will. We connected that to some of the parables of Jesus, where he constantly repeats this idea of the older son and the younger son, for example, where the older son is Israel, the younger son being more or less the Gentiles. And so they go and they come back, and the Jews are over there the whole time thinking, we're God's people, we've always been good, why is there no big deal? And God kind of responds to them, showing that he always had those two sons. It's just he was focused on the one because the other one had run away. As well as discussing the idea of the parable of the wedding feast, and how the Jews can be exemplified as those people that were invited first, and all started giving excuses. And so the master of the banquet calls in everyone on the outside, all of the Gentiles in, so that the house may be full. Any Jews that would choose to come in were also welcome in. However, it is no longer exclusive to the Jews. The Jew first, and also to the Greek. Make sense? This was our super fast recap. Now we move to the new stuff. 4. So this is like our fourth, this is our nested fourth statement. By the way, nested is a fun little concept from programming, where you would have like a command that would start up here, right? And then like, for example, do this, if. And then you have this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. Then you put another if inside. So if this is happening, and then if this is happening, so all of these different things come true for this big thing to happen.
I actually learned that today.
Oh!
I'm learning C++. That's
Oh, nice. Okay, well, I've known that in Java. I didn't know C++ had that. Well, I guess it has to.
It has a
Yeah.
different format.
Yeah, and so this is what's called a nested command in programming. In this case, this is a nested for. So this because is part of all the other becauses. Okay? So let's watch it.
Because.
Right, so we have I am under... Or,
What?
do you want that?
No wonderful things you do.
Yes. So we have I am under obligation. So I'm eager. 4 I'm not ashamed. 4 it is the power. 4 5 nested things, right? 4 in it in what? Not a trick question.
The righteous.
Okay, everybody make sure your Bibles are open. We're in verse
The
17. For in it.
righteousness
No, for in it. What is the it?
So what's the it?
What is the it?
The gospel.
Salvation.
No, so yes.
Oh yeah, salvation.
Mm-mm.
What?
Mm.
Is it?
No, the power of
And
God.
this is why we ask this question.
Hey,
Because there's an obvious answer, and then there are some potential interesting answers that
That
are
has
not so
to be the
obvious.
direct opposite, so the power.
So let's read that again. We're in
For
verse
it is
16.
the power.
Oh, no, it's for...
For I am not ashamed of the gospel. Command number 1. So, it is not anything command number 1. Because that command seems to be nested in the next one. For it is the power of God for salvation. To everyone who believes. The Jew first, and also the Greek. For, in it, in what?
The power.
the gospel.
The
Go back
power.
one command. The what?
Oh, the gospel.
No, the power.
No, the salvation.
The power.
It's power.
Right?
That's
power.
what I said.
Right, the power.
power.
But notice it. Right?
I know, right?
Yeah, so
Go in.
in the power of God, But which part? Remember, let's put the word omnipotence because I feel like it opens up some aspects for us. For in the omnipotence of God,
The righteousness of that.
right? For in the omnipotence of God, something is revealed. But before we get to that, not just in the general omnipotence of God. Notice in the omnipotence of God for salvation. So in God exercising His unlimited power to result in salvation to the
Right.
Jews and the Greeks, in that concept,
Yeah.
something is being revealed. It does.
Which is the righteousness.
Yep.
And it's the beautiful thing of understanding that God in all of it, and its almighty power, that's kind of scary, has its righteousness. Like it's still this beautiful thing of like when He saves His people.
And let me throw a little curveball. So, for in the omnipotent power of God for salvation, the righteousness of God, I have here a note in my study Bible, it says better translated righteousness from God.
Mm.
Or I believe it was John Piper who put it as the justification of God.
Yeah.
So this is important.
Yeah.
Why is this important? I mentioned something a minute ago. Do you guys remember? It wasn't a minute ago. It was like 20 minutes ago. But
I was like, power?
for in it, the justification of God is revealed. Why do we need justification of God? Because remember our little discussion about shame?
Yes.
And being
because-
ashamed?
Yeah.
And that part of why Paul isn't ashamed of who God is based on what is shown in the truth of the gospel
Because he's
is
just-
because he's familiar to something about God and who He is. This, the justification of God, when you justify something, right? Oh, you're just justifying that. Right. You are giving a reason of why it was just for you to do what you did.
Bless you.
Bless you.
Bless you 10 times over.
It's good.
You are giving a justification for why what was done is right. You with me? So, in the power of God for salvation, God is proven just.
Mm.
In
So
Did you
good.
catch that?
Yeah.
You
In
with
what-
me, Myra? Jen? You guys good? Good? Alright.
just justification.
Stop. Oh my God.
I'm about to separate
First
you.
it was genuine and now it's just.
Oh,
Nice.
what was in
Got it.
that?
While you break things. So, for in the omnipotent power of God for salvation, the righteousness of God, not to be confused with, now that we look at it from justification of God, we can see the idea of righteousness, right? The rightness of God, the accuracy, the reason, the justification of who God is based on the gospel is revealed through the gospel. You get that? So through the power of salvation, through the omnipotence of God geared towards salvation, we have the justification of God. His righteousness, His justice, His goodness, if you will, are all bound up and revealed. They are exposed. Not that they were gone, but now we see them when we look through the lens known as the power, the omnipotence of God for salvation. How do we get that lens called the omnipotence of God for salvation? Oh, well, that's called
Through-
the gospel,
Yeah.
which is why we're not ashamed of it. See the nested commands? You get what I'm talking about? Does that make sense? Are we confused? Because I got a little confused halfway through that, and then I had to kind of catch up. So, are we good?
Are
Okay.
you guys really good?
It's awesome. I think
You
it's.
just blew
I think
your
it's
mind.
really good.
I blew my mind enough to where I like lost some thoughts.
I just think like sort of like I don't know. I think like what
Yeah.
you guys were sort of saying to each other, as we were listening. Which is like it's just crazy that God is all powerful. First of all, that alone is crazy. But like another thing is, you know, God kind of sits there. He's like, what am I gonna do with all this power? He's like, oh, I know, I'm gonna save people with it, right?
Mm.
It's just like, whoa, that's.
That's-
And Paul is saying that in and of itself, God is justified, and God is proven to be right and proven to be God. He is.
Omnipotent.
It's
Gonna
cool
be going
because
back.
he doesn't go around destroying things.
Yeah.
He doesn't go around.
Because Paul can
Oh,
see
bye
it.
bye Pluto. You know,
Doesn't play
even though we
kickball with
kind of did
planets.
that with it, you're no longer a planet. But sorry.
Bring it back. Bring it back.
But it he chooses to focus his
No,
power on
yeah,
his
yeah.
love for humanity. Like that's stunning.
Yeah.
Especially knowing that he could destroy us if
Exactly.
he wanted to.
Right. And he would have every
He'd be
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And he would be
You'd
justified
be
in doing so.
justified.
and he would be
doing
just
so.
so you see that? So God had two very simple, equally exclusive options to show how right and just he is. Annihilate our humanity or the cross.
And he could have done that
Wow.
at any
Period.
time.
Did you catch that? He
Yeah.
only had, in all his omnipotence, he had two options. Annihilate humanity or annihilate his son. And the scandal of grace is he chose his son.
It's just like it says like in Isaiah, which is like super. I hate that verse, but it's so good. Which is like it says that like it pleased him to bruise his son,
Yeah.
and I hear that, I'm like, dude, that sucks.
Yeah. And it's not that like he was pleased that he was happy.
Right.
But
Yeah.
that it was the move he chose.
Yeah.
It was a bittersweet moment. You know what I mean? More so sweet.
I would argue more so bitter till the resurrection, but I mean when you're
Yeah.
God, there's no tail.
But the
it's kinda
time,
outside
yeah,
the
the
time,
time,
so
you
it's
know, the
irrelevant.
time that doesn't really apply to him.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? And I think this just highlights a deeper understanding of the process of justification where Paul talks about it in Galatians. But, you know what I mean? I think a lot of Christians tend to forget that process and how important it is because we're so focused on sanctification. We're so focused on trying to be holy and trying to be made holy and trying to do good things and trying to change our lives for God. But in reality, without understanding justification, without understanding why God is just and why God is righteous, you will never, ever get to the point of sanctification that you strive for because you missed the whole first part.
And on that exact note, that gives a great opening to
Love
consider
that.
another question. What were the Jews always trying to get or obtain? In one word.
Power.
Ah.
Salvation.
Thanks, Dad.
So,
I think probably.
two problems. Power, they always kind of wanted it, but it was never the center of their focus or their spirituality. Salvation, they had no clue what salvation is.
Yeah.
They never
Right.
dreamed.
It wasn't a concept.
The best they could dream for is blessings for their children. So really, what did they want?
Oh, holiness.
What did they pursue? Holiness meaning what?
Purity.
Towards what?
Like
God.
like to be justified.
Towards God.
Perfection, justification, righteousness.
Righteousness, yeah,
Right.
towards
Right?
God. Yeah.
They wanted, through holiness, to be
Right with
Right.
God.
right. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Right. Right.
That's right.
They wanted
Left.
righteousness. Now get this. Remember how we said this sentence can be translated a little bit differently? For in it the righteousness of God is revealed. You could also say the righteousness from God. Okay. So what is the whole Old Testament? How were they trying to get that righteousness? Because, pause. God wanted them to pursue righteousness. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah.
God wants us to pursue righteousness. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good. How in the whole Old Testament were they called to pursue righteousness?
Obeying the law.
Obeying the law. How'd that work out?
Didn't work out at all.
Why? Was it the law?
No.
No.
They just couldn't measure up. Yes?
Yeah. It
So
was
that was the righteousness
futile.
of, what does Isaiah call it? The righteousness
bloody
of man.
wrath. Yeah.
Right? He literally says, the righteousness of man
It is bloody wrath.
is like filthy rags. And by the way, for those of you that are not quite aware, now that you're all done eating, it literally refers to used up menstrual cloth.
Yes, that's true.
Ladies, enjoy that image. So that is literally
I don't confuse that.
that was an evil laugh. She's like, "Ha, I saw it." So
She's like, you guys don't know.
we really don't. So
I don't want to know.
the
This
righteousness
is not a
of man, you with me? The righteousness. So God, man, right? He wants righteousness. So we're trying to kind of get up there, right? And this little bit, Isaiah calls it filthy rags and menstrual cloth. That is the righteousness from man towards God. In the gospel, the righteousness from God is revealed. Catch that? So the righteousness from God is different than the righteousness from man. And what is this righteousness from God? What does that mean? We know that it justifies God, but it means something for us. What?
Jesus?
Jesus, yes, but go more practical.
Salvation.
Because he's saying in the gospel, which includes
The
Jesus,
cross.
obviously.
Like, that's where we get our righteousness from.
Yes, but what do we mean when we say righteousness coming from God? What is it?
Great.
Look at the rest of the verse.
Salvation. Oh no.
Look at the rest of the verse.
Faith.
How does the new righteousness come?
Faith.
By
By faith.
faith.
Ah.
Faith.
The opposite of the law. Paul begins to set his case against humanity here. To introduce the trick. God has flipped the boards. He has changed the rules. He has messed up everything. He proves that he is right by handling what needs to be handled. And in so doing, gives us a new move. And that new move is righteousness from him, not from us, because ours isn't working. And how do we get to that? The righteousness of God is revealed. Pause. Revealed. Not begun. Not given. Not started.
Always been there.
It's always been there.
But now he's letting us see it.
Yes.
The price.
But wait, watch this. Is revealed. What's the next word?
From faith.
From faith. Hold on. The
We didn't
old.
have faith before because we were based on law.
But was the old. But fun fact, is that
Right.
true?
That's not true. Yeah.
That's not true because
Oh,
Moses and
No.
all them had needed faith in God.
Hey, you remember your Hebrews. My girl.
I was about
Good
to
job.
say. I was like,
You see Hebrews, and it's almost like it's written by Paul. But we're not going to do
no,
that.
no, no. Blasphemy.
Controversial.
So, we're on
Oh,
video.
definitely.
On the road.
So-
I Romy. Cole. I'm just playing.
Rami Cole? It's a game. Anyway, for in it, the righteousness of God is revealed from faith for faith. Okay. It is revealed from faith. Pause. Trying to.
Oh, I thought you were gonna call Christian.
No.
Where is Christian? Where is Christian?
He's sleeping.
Bye, Romy.
Oh,
I just got revealed from.
the
door.
door.
So
Outside.
where was I?
Outside.
By the
Outside.
door.
Behind the door. Right?
Positional.
Yeah.
Right? I was behind the door, so I was revealed from the door. Right? It's
Through the
like
door.
being revealed. Well, yeah, through the door, but also from the door.
By the
Like it's like being
Prepositional.
by the door, for the door, in the door. No, it is like coming
With the
through.
door.
Right? Remember, revealed. It's
What
like
about
pulling
veil?
the curtain of a
What
stage.
about the veil?
If we stretch a little bit too
Stretch
much,
that, I'm sorry, I'm just.
but I, no,
it's a
I
conflict.
appreciate the thought. It's a good
No,
thought.
no, it's good. Yeah.
So,
It's stretching me
right?
out.
Revealed.
You're good.
Revealed means it used to be veiled,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And when it is exposed, now you see, if you've ever been to the theater, the actual theater, not movie theater. I know, it's ancient stuff, but if you ever look at the curtains, sometimes you might notice that the inside of the curtain can be a different color from the outside.
That's true, actually.
Right? Sometimes. Sometimes.
Oh, different material, even.
Right, exactly. And so, you have this stepping through, the righteousness of God comes through the curtain from faith. The other side of the curtain is laced in this weird stuff called faith, which strangely was always hiding righteousness from God. Pause. Is anyone righteous before Jesus is born?
No.
Hold on. Listen to my words.
Yes.
Not if Jesus was never born. Was anyone ever righteous before Jesus was born?
Yes.
Let me clarify my question. If you say no, you are saying that every single person before the birth of Christ is in hell. Think carefully.
I sure hope
Why
not.
you give him a hint?
No, it's deliberate.
Okay.
Okay, so before Jesus is born, was
should
anyone
be a
righteous?
Yes.
Yes.
How? Did they, hold on, did they achieve the law?
No.
Which was the only way to righteousness, right?
Wrong.
Except there was always a righteousness from God. But where was it?
Behind the veil.
Behind the door. The veil.
Behind the door. What was the door?
The
Faith.
faith.
Faith. So they would have looked at the faith and they always missed it.
So they
I
could have
wonder how many
always-
times they walked right by the righteousness that comes from God, somewhere between trying to follow law number 1 and law number 2, and just kept walking.
He made it difficult for them
But there were some
who saw.
that caught the door. Yes?
Right.
Now you remember your Hebrews.
Some of you went past the door.
Right. Well, those that caught the door ended up going through the door.
Yeah.
Right?
Some just died.
The door
I went to
is.
heaven.
Yeah.
So let's go back. The door is what?
Faith.
Faith.
And some didn't die.
So it turns out the righteousness of God was always there, along with the righteousness of man.
Yeah.
The righteousness of man was hidden behind all these doors called the law that no one ever seemed to get open. But somehow, some way, in all those doors, there was a door that was actually faith. And behind that was the righteousness of God, from God, for God, directly. The one that would get you to heaven, right? But it was hidden behind what we would never imagine. Why? Because we have learned that we must earn. Yes?
Yes.
Yes? But
See,
God, in the cross, changes the color of the door. Now the door sticks out. And through it, the righteousness of God is revealed, right? From faith. So it was always there, but it was hidden behind faith.
okay.
And now it comes through. And what is it there for? Read the verse.
For more
Faith.
faith.
For faith. Comes from faith. It's always been in faith. For faith. It is to be received for faith. You see it? So it's always, so the way of righteousness from God has always been there since the beginning of the universe.
He's the author and finisher of our faith.
Wow.
And it's always been there.
Oh,
But it has always been,
behind faith.
and it has always not been behind
righteousness.
Law.
law. Yes, very good.
Oh,
Very good.
so-
It was not behind the law. Right? And later on, Paul is going to talk about this idea that, well, then why was the law given? To show us we can't open the door.
What?
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. I don't want to get
Spoiler
excited.
alert.
Yeah, it's just fun fact. We'll talk about that. But, so going back,
It's a teaser for
The righteousness of
Romans
God,
part 78.
right? The righteousness from God is revealed from faith, which is where it has always been, for faith, which is where it will now be utilized. You mean God hasn't changed his mind? Exactly. You mean this is not plan B? Exactly. You mean the Jews are sitting there going, so we messed up and now God kind of had to rework his plan? No. His righteousness. Oh, so his righteousness was there. Yes, and it's being revealed. Where? What law was it? Yeah, faith. Well, now that you mention it, kind of makes sense. Right?
Yeah, because none of the laws worked.
Well, the laws worked.
Yeah.
They did exactly their job, which was to teach us we
See,
can
to
follow.
reveal to us
Keep you in
how
check.
screwed up we were.
Did you catch that? To reveal. Nice.
To reveal to us. The law was always given to us from God to reveal to us.
That we're so
That we're-
imperfect.
It's such a
Word
bizarre
perfect.
revelation, though.
Because
Makes sense.
oh well, later on Romans
Yeah,
will go deeper.
we'll get to that.
In
Let's
chapter
not-
five.
Spoiler alert.
Let's not jump into that yet. We're not
Right.
jumping to chapter 5.
Yeah.
So, for in it, so
You
remember, this
see?
is a because. Why is Paul not ashamed of the gospel? Because it is the power of God for salvation. Okay, is there any other reason? Or why do we care? Or how is it the power of God for salvation? Because in it, in the gospel, which is the power of God for salvation, the omnipotence of God for salvation, in that, he begins to reveal. So the power of God for salvation is the theater, right? The righteousness of God is the character. The curtain is faith. The curtain is pulled. The character steps forward. Righteousness of God. Wow, amazing. What is it wearing? Faith. Because you need faith. It's revealed. It's not masked anymore. And that is all where? Oh, well, to get to all that, you have to go in the gospel. So I am not ashamed of the gospel. You see it?
Because it has exactly what we've all been striving for.
And it vindicates God. So if you're wondering, is God really a good God? Is God really a righteous God? Is God really a just God? Does he really know what he's doing? Come to the theater of the gospel. See the revelation of the righteousness of God. Walk from faith to faith. And find your answers.
It's like someone telling you this credit card with no limits has been inside your wallet this whole time.
Yeah! Right. And so you're not ashamed of the wallet.
And you're just like,
Right. And notice this. As it is written. So now he's proving it, right?
This old
As
time.
it is written. Quick pause. As it is written.
where is it right?
This is How do you say this in English?
Habakkuk.
Well,
Habakkuk.
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 Because we gotta be biblical. So,
Quick is not good.
well, it's close enough.
That's biblical art.
Let's see. Let me see if I can find. I want to pull up the actual verse for you guys. Habakkuk 2:4. Are you guys still with me? Anybody passing
Yeah.
down on me? Doing pretty good.
Yes.
I'm doing my best.
Would
Staying out.
anyone
Team thing.
would anyone do me the great honor of waking up our sleeping
Sit over there.
beauty?
Switch your
I
tone.
got it wrong.
Where's
I
he at?
texted him.
You
I got it
You're right.
He's asleep. You're gonna text him
wrong.
Where's he at?
Fine.
in the second room. Just be gentle. Don't freak him out.
He's like,
Oh, dang it.
Huh?
Habakkuk 2:4.
Because you'll
Yeah, but don't read it yet.
pass out.
I'm
Stay on.
cold. Where's my phone?
On my sleeping bag.
Be gentle, Josh.
I'm sorry.
Oh, you bet that.
Get out of the chair.
Christian is back.
Hey, do you know the website that we got the Secret Card last year? Try out.
Was it not? I have the Oracle.
Do you guys all have the book open?
It's like
Back it?
Yes.
Habakkuk 2:4.
Expedia.
He's coming.
Who?
Thank you.
Christian.
Thanks, Josh.
No, he's gonna say.
Chris, Heidi Council?
It's actually not bad.
I woke up late.
2:4?
2:4.
Something like
And it
that.
was in like 3 days.
Check it.
Yeah, it is. Behold us.
Because you can
No, yeah,
organize it
but
by,
I'm trying to
like,
find the
bullet points.
context and I can't even find the book. Can I borrow
Would you be
your book?
willing
Do you
to
have it
look
open?
economy though?
Oh, no, not that one. Do you have it open, Joel? May I? Thank you.
I don't know.
Habakkuk is next to Nahum and
I'm gonna change your version.
Go for it. I don't know it here.
It's okay. Alright, guys, ready?
Ow.
So, in Habakkuk,
Habakkuk.
what it says is
What the verse?
This is your hair?
listen to this, listen to this,
It's fake.
listen to this. For still, oh man, catch this. Write the vision, make it plain on tablets, so he may run who reads it. For still the vision awaits its appointed time.
Oh,
Okay, so you see the anticipation. You got the theater kind of filling up.
it's like the announcement.
Still the vision awaits its appointed time. It hastens to the end, it will not lie. If it seems slow, wait for it. See, when God says wait for it, it will surely come. It will not delay.
Hashtag God's
Behold, his soul is puffed up. It is not upright within him. But the righteous shall live by
By
his faith.
What? It was a sneak peek.
Do you see that? There is a difference between the person whose soul is puffed up and not upright within him. Strangely sounds like anyone who tries to follow the law. And the righteous shall live by his faith. Thank you, sir.
Which is so like it's true. Like it does. And I love that Paul addresses this later, but like it seems that like wait, hold up. Like you're telling us that like trying to be like these like legalist people or just trying to follow rules is wrong. But it's like, oh, but you gave us this law, and now you're telling us like, oh, like live by faith, even though I gave you the law. And it's just like, God, why?
And I would love to answer the why now, but we will save it for
I know,
when we
we
hit that
will.
chapter.
It's so funny
On the
because
next
It's a
episode.
lot of fun. on like the 20th episode from now.
to give it more context is that's written after Habakkuk's second complaint, and his whole complaint is about exactly what we're talking about. He's complaining about like, where are you? Aren't you God? Aren't you my rock? Aren't you this person you said you were?
That book has so much audacity.
And it's so crazy that falls into right into that word, and we're having that same concept of like who God is and why is He just and why is He righteous. It's because of Him and Him alone. And He kind of corrects Habakkuk in his thought process, and that's what that's what God's righteousness is supposed to do. Is correct us.
Right. It flips the tables. It changes how we've always thought of things. And suddenly we begin to think that maybe, just maybe, things have always been different than we thought.
Yep.
God did not change his mind. And that's why he proves it. As it is written, the righteous shall live by faith. He just jumped into the middle of the Old Testament and said, hey, what I'm telling you isn't new. It just got revealed so we can see it better. Well, how is it not new, Paul? I mean, clearly it was always about the law. Yes, but the righteous live by faith. This concept was always there. If you remember this little thought we had in Hebrews a long time ago, we said, imagine a bunch of dirt ground, and you start to pull at the edge of a rope. Way over here, it's coming out of the ground. And as you pull and you run with it, it begins to lift off the dirt. We talked about how in Hebrews it was this rope. Remember what the rope was? Faith, right? And it was this rope that was pulled. And as it was pulled up, we call the whole Old Testament
Yeah.
covered in this concept of faith. Same here. The righteous shall live by faith. He's starting to pull a connection to say this was always the case. And this is the righteousness that comes from God, the righteousness that works, and now it is revealed from faith, where it has always been, to faith, where it now is. You just see it better. Go for
I
it.
think. Oh, you
Of
said
course I saw it. I saw it.
I think one reason why it's challenging for us is because, you know, as God tells us to come to Him as little children,
Mhm.
but you know, when we're following mom and dad's rules when we're young, right? We think, oh, we're either doing it for a reward, we're either doing it for, oh, what I can get. Okay, I can go play outside longer, or I can have ice cream, or I can stay up late, you know, or we think, okay, it's to stay out of trouble, or it's to, you know, stay in good standings. But what we neglect to see, it's because mom and dad put the rules out there because they love us and they want to protect us, and they're also there so that we can love them back by doing those same things. But we don't understand that when we're young. We just think, oh, the rules are there to get us in trouble, or there's all this multifaceted layering, and God treats us the same way. You know, He treats us as little children, you know, because He loves us, and the law was put there in reality for us to prove that we loved Him back, but we didn't get that.
And we couldn't prove it
Yeah.
because we didn't love him back.
Nowhere.
Right, exactly.
And that's why
It's
the
impossible.
righteousness of God
Yeah.
becomes so important. Because the righteousness of God,
That's true.
it's
could
like
never
He
be
told
done.
us, hey, I want you to sew perfect clothing and then come to my house. And we keep trying forever. The righteousness of God is God saying, tell you what, just wear mine. I promise it'll cover you.
And that's why.
Do you believe me that it'll cover you or not? If you don't, you can keep trying to make your own.
Because when we think about it like that, it's about us. And that's why I always tell people, the whole word, the gospel, is not about you. It's literally about God. When you make it about your works, when you make it about anything that you do or you have a part of, it becomes about you. And therefore you became your own God. But when you take you out the picture, there's only one thing left. And if you're able to see it, then you're able to get it. But if you're not able to see it, you're never really able to really have that revelation given to you of what faith is and what God's righteousness looks like and what it feels like and what it does for you as a person. You know what I mean? Because we're so quick to put ourselves on a standard that God doesn't even have for us. And that's where we fall. Because we're trying to play God in our own lives instead of allowing God to do what He always does and will always do, and what has done before we were even created. You should look at me like that for.
No, I just enjoy. I noticed how you got lost in your wording, but then you fixed it. So
Yeah.
I was enjoying the masterful fix.
Oh.
Very nice. Very nice.
Awesome.
So, as it is written, the righteous. Why the righteous? Because the righteousness of God.
Dude, this is so long.
You catch that?
Yeah, I did.
The righteous shall live by faith. Who are the righteous?
People who live by faith.
But what is, if we use that little picture, right? I am only righteous when I put on the righteousness given.
Yeah.
Right? It's not saying the self-righteous.
Nope.
It's saying the righteous. Well, how do we become righteous? Remember, we just got the righteousness of God revealed to us. And so we get to have it by faith. In a way, He just gave the gospel. Right? For in it the righteousness of God is revealed from faith, for faith. As it is written, this verifies the whole Old Testament, the righteous shall live by faith. And the only righteous will be by faith. You see it? Make sense? Thoughts, comments, questions, concerns on verse 17?
So the righteous is those who believe.
The righteous is those who take on God's righteousness by faith.
I like, so it made it a lot easier for me to understand this whole thing, like when the way you illustrated it, when you said like it's all like sort of like just a nesting thing, and like so it cascades down, and it cascades even like chronologically. like
Mhm.
that, like
It-
it
it's
starts
supposed to.
off this way, yeah, and it's like
That's awesome. Yeah.
because Paul, yes, Paul's very like philosophical and very intelligent, but he's also like very poetic in his
And
writing.
it's simple. It's so funny that like
Simple-ish.
Yeah. Yeah, simple.
When Peter has to write, Paul writes you things that are hard. I think it's safe that we don't call them simple.
Yeah.
Just saying.
No, but it has simplicity within it. You know what I mean? When you start
Does
reading
all
it.
complexity have simplicity within it?
Always.
So
Oh,
then what's
boy.
your point?
What is happening?
I'm just
I
saying.
need to hold on to something.
No, but continue. What you thought?
No, like that's it. Like I think it's a very good representative. This is like this section right here, like 16 and 17. This is our ambassador for like Christianity. I think we're like hey, like what does it mean to be saved, and like what do we do when we're saved? It's just like hey, like you're saved because of who God is, because He's able, and the way it ought to result is that you take on His righteousness, like you said, and you live by faith because the righteous shall live by faith.
Makes sense?
And it's so crazy that
It is.
we always think that the righteous try to live by righteousness.
Preach it.
We try to live by doing good things. But it doesn't say that. It says we live by faith.
Not to mention doing good things would not make us righteous.
That's
Exactly.
Hence the problem.
No, but I'm saying, you know what I mean? That's the concept that we don't
Yeah, we think the righteous
innately
shall live by
speak
works.
or say, but yeah,
Right.
even though we know, like, biblically and everything that we're not saved by works, we still try to live by works. It's so much different
Yeah.
than believing that I'm saved by works. Because even though I'm not saved by works, I still try to live by works. But it's not about works. It's,
Right.
it's
What
not
if
about
we just knew that the faith would produce the works that needed to
Exactly.
be produced?
And
Be
remember,
alive.
exactly.
one of my favorite and intense parts of Paul speaking, he writes to the Galatians. He says, "You foolish Galatians, who has bewitched you?
Yeah.
Having started by faith, will you not finish by works? Did the one that saved you
That's like not a
save you through your work?
Galatians.
No? Then get your act together. He's not waiting on you to start works now." See that? We're not studying Galatians, so I can't go further on that.
I was
But
going
it's
to say,
really good.
let's do it. I'm just playing.
The righteous shall live. Live. I came that you may have
Life.
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 and the righteous shall
Live.
by, through, in, with, because of, in the power of, under
2 4.
faith.
Keep on using prepositions.
It
Be
all works.
almost there.
Right? Faith. You see it? All right. Any thoughts on this verse before we move forward to verse 18?
Wait, are we gonna move forward today?
That is the intention, yes. Because we started very late today.
And then
Hmm?
I'm gonna leave at 11:30. I'm just like letting you know. Yeah, go.
So,
Sorry, I like hijacked your.
No, dude, you're good. It's the word Lord, you know.
Appreciate it.
all right, you guys ready for verse 18? We're going to go for a bit more nesting. But before we do, let me go check on Monsieur Christian.
He's trying to knock down the floor. It's like, are you heading this way? Oh my god.
It's interesting that we can't really do this by ourselves, you know? Can't really dig like this. I mean, we can, but getting, being edified by everybody,
It's supposed to.
you know, that's how it's supposed to be.
That's exactly
We try to
how
do it.
Paul talked about
I've been
it.
trying to do it by myself for a minute, and
Never.
this last year, God was like,
Iron sharpens iron, and then Paul even talks about how we're here to edify one another.
This is exciting,
Yeah.
you know?
So let me ask you guys. Are you guys good to move forward? All right, let's make it easier. Josh, are you good to move forward?
If you are,
Okay. Joel?
Yes.
They're
You
all
can be
dependent
honest.
on this one.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but this one's knocked out anyway. So either way, she's gonna have energy when she's driving. If anything, giving her more time. See, she's